in Lithuania. But Beefire, we're excited to see again, hailing from Torino, of course. They got themselves a bronze medal out on the beach in Portimao last season. So let's see how they're going to come out. We know they're going to be quick and they're going to be slick, but it's defense to start for the Italians, with the Ukrainians with the disc. Nice high one over the top to get us going from Nikolenko. Nice easy start to this one, but good pressure from the defense, causing lots of passes. Zavalenko pointing, trying to direct traffic upfield. Good poach off of Slentak. Well exploited. Leading pass up the sideline, just hitting that front code. Vlad Zavalenko collects the first goal for Ukraine mixed. That was a nice start, Benji.
Yeah, they got themselves into a little bit of trouble at one point, just with a high stall count, but they were able to get that player come off the front. And what that meant is you saw the defender there for Beefire, the 21, Francesca Arnelli. She wants to stop that more aggressive option, so she just sits in that lane a little bit. And yes, it stops the downfield pass going, but it also means that there is space to allow the reset there, and that just resets the stall count, really using the width of the field well. As well, they're the Ukrainians and Cholkin, who the peroxide blonde is gone, and much to a more natural hair colour, lasering that one down the line, but a nice little bit of edge on it, leading Zavalenko into the end zone for the score. Good start for the Ukrainians.
Yeah, I have to say, Dima Cholkin is going to be one of the players probably to watch when the Ukrainians are coming out on offence. Of course, this team based largely in Kiev. And I have to say, there have been already a couple of mutterings on sidelines, Benji, of the shells underfoot and maybe the couple of errant bottle caps. Of course, we are on a public beach, so these things do happen. But certainly the Ukrainians say they're just really pleased to be here. This, of course, is also, we should mention, their first game of the tournament thus far. They had the bye round this morning. Whereas Torino had a bit of a slow start, but had a good comeback. So, Brunelli with the disc. Looking at Egypt for that, squeezes through that inside break. Nice movement across a high, lofty one. Possibly an opportunity for the defense. And there is a bit of contact under the disc, though. Might get a foul call as you see Cipriani coming back up from the dirt. I say dirt. It's not dirt. It's dust here because it's sand.
It's indeed. Interesting. I think you see this quite a lot with Beefire, is they've got a lot of particularly rapid female receivers. I'm sure that we'll see a lot out of Fuentes, for example. This time, it's a slightly different target, looking for Cipriani, I think. But it's just hanging up a little bit there. Shupanov comes in late to knock it away. But Cipriani is engaged in discussion here with Nikolayenko.
Yeah, getting another look at that one. Really good defensive pressure. Certainly, Federica Cipriani has to go up pretty high quite quickly. So not sure if anyone in particular caused that one, but a bit of a loose disc. Pagano's going to have to execute a little bit better than that. I take it back. It's not Asala Plaka with the disc, but it's going to be a turnover with an extra little push for Petrusak.
Yeah, why take the risk? Yes, the receiver's made a crazy athletic bid, in truth, to not quite get there, but again, especially on beach where people are going to throw themselves around, just get that one, ain't nowhere near, because there's always the chance of that second effort.
So Ukraine with their first look at a break here. Too much clustering around the handler space, but just manages to escape that one. Good match defense being played upfield. All just playing through the male matching players at the moment. Just forming that back handler set. And the error is generated and a short field for Beefire. La Placa just streams through. Brunelli with the disc. And an easy goal for the Italians to get themselves a hold on the second asking.
Yeah, they forced... I think Beefire, they made the Ukrainians busy in the handler set, and they isolated the two female players downfield. I think there were times that maybe they could have thrown them and were just a little bit reticent to. So I think maybe just put a little bit of bit more faith in what the cutters downfield were doing. They got the miscommunication on the reset, and you cannot really get a better position to pick up than front of the end zone, and Brunelli just thinking, why wait? We can steal a march here, especially on beach, where the slightest bit of separation goes a long, long way. Just picks up, simple flip into the end zone for the goal to Andrea Molina.
It has to be said, actually, with the rain, torrential, sort of tropical conditions that we've had earlier doors this morning, some of the pitch surfaces around here, it's almost like not playing on sand because it's so damp and wet. But as, of course, the pitches change, as they're being churned up, especially the show pitch in front of us, it's, as you say, Benji, a really different surface to play upon. Gorbachev, one of the captains of this team in the number 92, is going to reach back and come unstuck, trying to find the reset. Kravets there, unable to connect. So another short field. Pagano, the other male player for Torino with a hat, facing forward even.
He's an expressive character, is Pagano.
Is it in Portimao you called him a Disney villain of Ultimate?
I might have done.
Either way, he finds the goal. A little bit of a stuffed spike from Simone Maganotti.
They've got that stack isolated in the centre of the end zone, and Magagnotti's outside, just kind of not really getting involved. He's waiting for Pagano to turn, look at him and say, okay, you're active now. And you see it again here now, actually, on the off that spidge. Checks in, wants that around break, doesn't see it, but Magagnotti floods through, and Pagano goes to the offhand, the lefty backhand, to lead him in for the score. First break of the game goes Beefire's way.
Yeah, not surprised. I mean, certainly we haven't seen too much roster turnover for the Torino outfit for Beefire. They've got a couple of new young players coming through, but generally it's a very similar squad to we saw that taking the bronze medal back in Portimao. I know they'll certainly be looking to get some rematches against some perhaps certain French players.
I don't know what you're on about, Anna.
Well, we might be alluding to the fact that that was a very spicy semi-final against Chuck. If you haven't checked that one out already and you're a fan of watching Beach Ultimate, which of course you are, why have you been asking the question, we recommend you have a look at that game. So, Jolkin resetting back. There is space on those resets backwards. Big buffers being given, but that's a big shot into the end zone. It's going to go over the head, though, of Anas Lensak.
Zavalenko, I mean, I like the idea because he sees that the Force has put the bid in on sand. You're going to get those bids, and when players are on the floor, it takes them a bit of a while to get to their feet. Why not punish that either by going it and kind of running it downfield, or by opening up for the big shot? But it's a bit too grassy, that, if you know what I mean. You just need to take a little bit more loft on that, take some of that zip out of it, because the receiver didn't really get a chance to track that one down.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of first game jitters now starting to emerge in the Ukrainians. And talking about putting touch on disc, Benji, this is pretty much the perfect conditions for it. A real thrower's wind. Just a little flutter for our flags in the background. Big bid from the defense. There's going to be a foul call by Pagano. It's accepted immediately by Pcholkin. 254 shirts having a bit of a tussle.
I'm glad you put into that out, because if you hadn't, I was.
Well, you know, we like to state the obvious every so often in the booth, don't we? Big shot from Pagano, but the defense is underneath it. Fabulous play from Dasha Batakina.
Just underthrows this one a little bit. Maybe a bit more height to try and really loft it over the defender there. I like the edge was the right idea to fade it towards this near side, but Batiakina just, yeah, too big. Read it too well.
So Beefire at the moment not completely connecting with their athletic female players in the deepest spaces, but an opportunity for the Ukrainians to grab themselves a second hold in this game, trailing, of course, that one break. Oh, lovely grab on the far sideline, just toppling into the turf. I say turf. I'm having to adjust. This is my first game on this at this tournament, Benji, and clearly,
we'll let you off.
Yeah. Srichina stretches out to make that one. Foul called by the mark.
I think the players are enjoying the fact that you can make the most of softer landings.
Lava Bianco on the mark, just having a little chat with Srichina, who's lost the cap. Looking around for the reset. Dancing in front of the bar. Big poach off from Pagano, though. Can't quite find that one, but good reset to Sensak. And dancing at the front line, the score for Cholkin.
Cholkin's a real live wire. You see him do a lot of work handling, but he's more than happy when needed to go downfield, utilise that short area quickness, just get that first step advantage. And again, Ukraine having a lot of success by utilising the width of the field, stretching the play, and it opens up those inside channels that are otherwise a little bit more difficult to find when you're on that trap sideline. But, I mean, that's what, 2 at least brilliant layout grabs from the female matching Ukraine players. And that's a beautiful, wicked around break as well, that low release. In the end, it's the 2 male matching players who get on the stat sheet. But, yeah, one of those where if you just look at it and think, oh, well, maybe this is just lads playing it between themselves. It's that point, and it certainly was not.
Well, it's interesting, Benji, because actually mentioning kind of the way the stats work, obviously we more or less only get the data collected of assists and goals. I find oftentimes teams that maybe are a little bit dominant on use of one gender sort of throughout the course of a point will often have the flip reverse, because you know, sometimes players end up being left all alone. But that's a fantastic D on another slightly loose disc from Beefire. Danielak with the block. And picking that as well, of course, these hot pink discs for maximum visibility on this beachy, sandy surface, even though I keep calling it turf. But again, the Italians doing really good to just pressure the upfield and only give the reset, but off to the races goes Danielak. A throw as he falls over. I think a little bit of confusion, but collected by Shupanov.
Was Shupanov the intended target? I'm not entirely convinced that he was, but he tracked the play well and got into that area and made sure to avoid contact as well. A couple of times Beefire just have got a little bit bogged down. When they get the offense moving, it works beautifully, but you know, sometimes, and this is not exclusive to them, I think, on the beach, you do get those teams a little bit static, just a little bit of a shoulder fake there, enough to get behind La Placa, get that march up line, and then the little okey-doke, no pivot backhand into the front of the end zone. Shupanov collects the goods for the goals, and Shupanov is a figure who will be familiar to many on the ultimate scene, not just for his exploits on the field, but off it as well, for one of the continent's finest photographers.
Yeah, I think the key there was just the commitment to that upline cut from Alex Danielak. It's just, I mean, perhaps if you're going to be picky about it, La Placa was being a little bit flat-footed, probably expecting him to just stay in that handler space. But really, as we've already mentioned on beach, you just need an inch. It feels like a mile. And
you really have to be on the balls of your feet there. You cannot be flat-footed because it's so hard to get that momentum going again. Also, like, when you get that upline pass, you need to get that throw going early enough, because otherwise the defender's in the way. And that's exactly what, Zhubenko did there. Get the throw out nice and early, so you're leading the receiver there, rather than really just sticking it on them.
So Brunelli getting us underway. All of the players from Beefire clustering under to begin that particular channel of offense, but a poach off found for Fuentes Velez. Great attempt on the D. Brunelli left again. Lots of space for the underneaths. Nice inside shot to Cipriani. A high reaching backhand around the mark, and that's going to be good enough. But a pick called as a suspiciously open number 55 of Andrei Crossetto. Yeah, the pick was called very early there, and for a minute Crossetto stopped, and evidently the handler didn't get the message because the disc went up anyway, but he was able to pick that momentum going again and make sure he catches it to not potentially give away the cheap turnover. Lovely disc from Cipriani though, that sort of, you know, reach around backhand. Threatens it again. Oh, now it's going to be a laser of a flick that's just going to go straight into the sand. Commiseration to Fuentes. Well, I think another foul call.
It's not a great throw from Cipriani. You can see what the plan is there. They've got Fuentes isolated in the end zone, and they're going for the coat hanger style cut, 7 cut you hear it called, where you plant to one side, you change direction, go towards the other side of the field, and Cipriani, I think she just sells this one short. There might be a little bit of contact and jostling for position there, but in the end they're saying that, you know what, didn't really affect, turnover stands.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult argument for the offensive player to make, that they had a real clean go at that disc. So an opportunity for a second break, this for the true lead for UkrMix. A little bit static on the outfield, but the tall frame of Zavalenko is found for that reset. Oh, that's a lovely bit of quick movement, and doesn't quite connect, goes with one hand. Dasha Batikinea. Now that's a shame, Benji. A bit of a missed opportunity.
The throw could maybe have had a bit more touch on it, but I think if you're getting enough of a hand to it there, you should probably be catching it. On beach as well, you can certainly lay out for it and go with 2.
And being cognizant of the stage of the game we're at, and obviously, you know, Beefire have certainly earned themselves their seeding coming into this tournament. But the disc is theirs. Melina.
Yeah, you mentioned that Beefire have already played today. They found themselves in a little bit of a hole against Monkey from Grenoble. They were 4-1 down and then stormed in the second half of the game to win 12-7.
Indeed, they're hoping to use that momentum in this game, but thus far, it seems like a similar story in terms of them not quite firing on all cylinders just yet, but hopefully they can warm themselves up. Crosetta with the inside find. Fuentes being asked to fall over the pitch. Melina across. Cipriani. Again, the Italians really favouring the inside breaks when they throw them. Nicola Brunelli puts a bit of a sky ball, but that one's going to land well out of bounds, trying to connect with Andrea Melina.
From our position, we could see exactly what he's looking for. He's trying to thread that inside-out channel to the far sideline for Melina, but just puts too much on it. It's a really tricky throw because it's not a huge lane that he's throwing through there. He makes sure that he wants to get the edge to maybe just lead that in and get it to come back into the path. It doesn't quite work. It's a tricky throw to pull off. I love the endeavour, even if, yeah, not the result he wanted.
No, not how he drew it up in his mind whatsoever.
I think the Ukraine defence deserves credit for making that kind of his only viable option.
Big bomb coming out of the paws of Petrusiak. Oh, and coming through! I tell you what, it's a way to put a point on your back. Great moves from Vlad Zavalenko, and clean as a whistle as well.
Yeah, I think a case of not necessarily being the intended target there. You saw the speed of Fuentes across the sand because you got yourself into a really good position to get that block, but trying to attack it early, the risk is sometimes that you go too early, still just a little bit out of the reach, and he churned up the sand in front of him, just really motored across the surface, utilising those long strides really well. Ideally on sand, this sounds stupid, you want to be touching the sand as little as possible because you just get bogged down, you churn it up. It's a little bit like a Scooby-Doo cartoon where the legs go all like in a circle and don't actually move at all. But when you can you utilise that long stride pattern, especially on sand, you can really pick up speed over your opponents, and then snatching that away with the right hand there, Zavalenko for the score.
Well, to quote Sussex ultimate legend Rebecca Evans, also known as Gully on the scene, when you run on beach, you want to drive up with your knees as your focus, because as you say, Benji, the mechanics of the surface, speed is all about how much force you can put into the ground and have it return back to you. As we see Pagano putting up a lovely bladey flick around. There's an attempt for the defense, but not to be.
Yeah, I was just going to say that my my beach advice always comes from another Brighton figure, Mental Ben. Why he's called that, I think those who know him might, even if they don't know this is a specific reason why we get it. It was the best way to run on sand is don't touch the sand, right? Just ignore it as much as you can with those high knees, those churning strides. But that time we will see Pagano cross over to the O-line often when they get broken, just to try and get a little bit more momentum into that offense. Sometime he's more than happy to put himself at the front of proceedings when need be. And yeah, just getting a little bit of edge on that. Picked out his target well, Brunelli at the back of the end zone. It's always tricky when you see players kind of focus on that front, but you know, you've got the full depth of the end zone to play with there. You don't always have to score right on the front line, and that time went right to the back of the end zone.
But a nice clean hold for Beefire, much needed after some rather sloppy action in the previous 2 points, where of course they conceded 2 on the bounce in terms of breaks. But the Ukrainians will be delighted. So looking at the other teams in this pool, Benji, are there any people you think might emerge into the championship bracket in particular?
I mean, Beefire would certainly, given their performance last time, would potentially be one of those.
Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. Big shot going deep into the end zone for UkrMix, and that is a fantastic shot to Sliensiak.
Just weighted it perfectly. When it works, it's smooth and efficient and easy. And I feel so often on beach, that's important, right? You get your momentum going, you keep the defenders on the back foot, and they're always kind of trailing by a step, by a beat or so, and they just can never quite get back into possession. If you can start fast, I think it's why pulling is so important on the beach, because if you can force them to start slowly, you get everyone into position, you get yourself in a good, frame of mind, a good phase to make that quick transition. But if you take your time, you're a little bit slow and stodgy with it, then the disc's already moving by the time you get down. People are already out of position, and they're changing direction is so tricky. The changing direction becomes so tricky, and they're kind of burning past you and you're stuck in the mud.
Well, I'll tell you what, sometimes it does feel like mud out here on the pitches. That's a really interesting throw, having to go all the way around the world, almost sort of, you know, staking herself into the sand with the move for Susana Fuentes.
It was interesting because I thought the shot was decent, and yeah, maybe Fuentes again just not quite locating that disc early enough. I think the defender, one, not getting a touch. You don't always need to, you just need to make sure that the receiver doesn't catch it, and probably just did enough to put her off.
Well, a delightful opportunity for UkrMix here. They hunt down a third break in this game. That one's going to be a bit high though. Great defense, but the redemption underneath it.
Do you want me to say the line?
Absolutely.
Catch your D's and it doesn't happen. Although I appreciate she did a very good job just trying to get a hand in there.
Absolutely, but fantastic collection on second asking as well. Anastasia Jubenko all over the shop. Back to Shipanov.
I'll tell you what, if Ukraine can punch this in there, they put themselves in a really good position, beating, you know, on paper, the toughest team in the pool, I think.
Well, perhaps that little bit of extra break this morning really working in their favour as the sun finally emerges behind the clouds. Vyenko, oh, nice, wow. Saucy one-handed grab from Kravitz, who of course launched that beautiful disc for the Ukrainians' previous point. Dish though on last gasp attempt. You can see the dismay from the defender as Shipanov collects the goal, and another break for UkrMix.
You could see what happened there is that, you know, they could tell the stall was getting high, so she turned around, tried to look at the player in that reset position to lose that yardage, and everyone's like, oh, she's not bothered about going upfield now. This is where we want to be. Kind of everyone adjusts their adjust their position to try and take that option away. There was the second effort grab, and you do kind of feel for the defender there when you get a hand on it and there's just someone behind. Wonderful reaching grab there by Kravitz, and the stall count gets high, so everyone's focused on stopping that pass backwards. The force comes too far around, and it leaves the free one downfield for Shipunov, catching his second goal and second break of the game. 6-3, the Ukrainians. Are we going to have another Beefire comeback, or are the Eastern Europeans going to put themselves in a very tidy position in this Pool A?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, Benji, to see the Ukrainians sort of sail off this momentum, but equally the Italians do have a lot of athletic talent and ability to grind themselves out, but at the moment they're going to have to do something a little bit different. I think the defense that Torino are playing in the high stall situations is maybe getting a little bit hungry. There are some real pressure moments for the Ukrainian mixed where they're probably throwing maybe half a second before the end of the stall, but them getting a little bit too hungry and poaching off is allowing those opportunities. A little bit of an errant throw, but well kept by Cipriani, just sort of tilting in this direction. Back to Bianco. Pagano with a feisty fake trying to direct his downfield. Cipriani again.
Is that Stef Pazzo coming through the speaker system?
Indeed, I think alerting everybody here at the pitch site that the refreshment options are now available because the bar's opened up.
I was going to say, is he moonlighting, but given the weather, I guess sunlighting. Although I don't really think that's a phrase.
Crossetto looking around, has Pagano behind. Almost a demon-like on sand. Hammer over the top. We love that kind of action, and it's going to pay a couple dividends. Finding Melina.
I'm going to quote one of my breakout commentary stars of last season, backstage side, Corey Sostray, who would be loving that hammy right now. Just opening up the offense, especially on beach where you don't necessarily need huge windows of separation to throw to. When it's relatively still as it is at the moment, for the beach, often it gets very windy. But without that wind, you can really sit it to the break side. Obviously, the defender's waiting on the open, but it is brilliantly judged. Melina just gets that eye connection, that eye contact with Pagano, goes into the toolbox, pulls out the hammer, and it's 6-4. Again, we're seeing Pagano cross over to play a little bit of offense after the break, notching up his third assist of the game.
Well, and of course, Pagano with the disc in hand, readying himself for the pull. As you say, a very expressive ultimate player. Has represented Costa Rica, Fota, Fano, and Torino in his playing career. Thus far, nearly 2 decades. He's been playing for 18 years.
Yeah, part of the Beefire Masters side that got the silver medal at European Masters last year and finished in the top 8 at the World Masters in Limerick.
Big shot coming out from the Ukrainians, but that's going to go into the stands. Definitely not the high stall and hope release that he intended.
That ain't it, Chief. I do feel sorry for Strelchin. Clearly you can see that he's just on a high stall. He's just trying to put something big downfield, and he just yanks it. It just sticks in his hand. Sometimes that happens. You just got to try and forget about it to an extent and just get ready to go again.
Well, shortened field opportunity for Pagano, who's going to just launch one straight into the end zone. There is a poach off, and that's maybe a little bit of a lack of focus there from the player going up line. There did seem an opportunity for Magagnotti to see that that defender was there.
Yeah, the only thing I can think is that he's, both the throw and they've seen that space develop. The defenders come from the backside to try and get that poach in. And she takes a big old shoulder. She does get there first. The discussion would be whether Magagnotti had time to pull out of that and adjust.
Well, it's that really difficult thing to have when you're, especially in the end zone, is that presence of mind to continually sort of monitor the field, almost Terminator, like, you know, the laser sort of, you know, scanning yourself around. And all by rights, you know, that spot should belong to the offense, but it does feel a little bit like the defender was in the territory before. That's Valeria Strechina. But tell you what, the Ukrainians obviously very used to playing defense at the moment.
Yeah, seeing it. I mean, it's a huge. He is not the first to that disc. Again, just because you don't get there first, it doesn't mean that you were the player who caused and initiated the contact necessarily. They are going to say that it is an accepted foul, though. So obviously, even though the defender was in position, got there in a way that the receiver couldn't break stride and prevent the contact.
Well, Beefire happy to play on, and of course no injuries, thankfully, after that big old collision. A zesty break, though. Pick called, unsurprisingly.
I think it felt inevitable.
Yeah, Koshashka quite far away from her matchup.
It was not just that she was free, it was that you could see that everyone had stopped and kind of given up the ghost a bit.
But another big around break this time, rather than that high inside, connecting with Simona Stefanelli.
5-6, first break. No, sorry. Second break of the game for Beefire. Still a break down, and because they started on D, they could have to get another break as well. They would need one more than their Ukrainian opponents. But that's a good start. Just beginning to eat back into that. Kind of utilising the fact that I think often people think two-dimensional with pivots. You think you can go kind of one way or the other, whereas actually you've got that full 360 degrees available, so it's not necessarily just about going left and right. You can kind of go forwards, a little bit backwards, and you can use that to create yourself some more angles for the release. And Stefanelli does a very good job, you know, attacking that break side with the cut, because knowing that she has the space there. And of course she's come from a great beach playing nation.
Ireland?
Yes, correct.
Well, she's originally from Gaeta, but actually, yeah, picked up Ultimate at TCD, Trinity College Dublin, where many Ultimate athletes that you see playing at the elite level in Europe discovered their love of flying disc sport. But she's mainly been a Torino player and athlete in her career. So 6-5, UkrMix lead over favourites in this pool, Beefire. A lovely low one around for Strechina. Savalenko puts a mute button on his big show. Oh, lovely leading pass, gorgeous to Pcholkin.
Just a little bit of loft and sit on that one to chase down.
We've talked a lot, Benji, about putting touch on the disc at the right moments.
Nice defensive switch passed off there by Beefire.
Yeah, there was a little bit of hesitation. I thought that might have been exploited.
I think partly because they're worried about getting that size mismatch, but the opportunity to presented itself to get that switch on, and especially on beach where, you know, it's tiring, it's difficult, the economy of movement is very important.
Oh, and a little bit of love there. An accepted foul. Savalenko getting a little bit too much touching from Andrea Pagano, who of course switched off to go and mark the big man. Strechina, spirit captain for the Ukrainians, is going to throw an errant one, though collected easily by Magagnotti. And a timeout being called by Pagano. I like that option, as of course we are not too far away from reaching half-point cap. So as the players on the field take a brief repose, as will we, grab yourself a refreshment, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more of this game after these messages.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
July from Nottingham, England, the World Flying Disc Federation's World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. Live all-access coverage, including semis and finals, exclusively at ultiworld.com.
Coming off this timeout then, the Italians looking to break to level us up here at 6 apiece, and I think very appropriately you saw the play for Ukraine spot in the break there. A sentiment that I think we all share.
Absolutely, Benji. It's just such an absolute delight to see the Ukrainian mixed team hit, and also to see them playing, can we say, pretty well. Certainly got that mental toughness, but of course these games out here on beach, 45 minutes of regulation time and a points cap of 13. So we are inches away from a galaxy point, Benji.
Oh, tasty, our first of the weekend.
Indeed, we've had a couple of blowouts so far on the pitches here. Fuentes puts a shot into the end zone. Oh, nearly gets the bid, but the celebration from Andrea Pagano. And that, ladies and gents, and those of you non-binary chums, it's going to be 6 apiece, galaxy point.
You love to see it, as I think the great philosopher Socrates once said, although probably not in English. We'll move on. You see, they're just squeezing that down the side. I mean, there is not a lot of room there, especially because Zavalenko is a big lad to try and throw round, and he commits to the bid as well. But just snuck it in there to Andrea Pagano.
Yeah, and a true trust ball. That's one of those things where you're like, all right, I'm just going to have to put this out here. And but you can often see very limmy players get bested in short range. Whether it's sort of, you know, finding those holes underneath their limbs to put your brakes in, or, you know, just zipping one through the flailing, bidding sort of body of Zavalenko. But that'll be good enough for Beefire. And that's 3 on the trot to bring us back to evens.
I think we talked about earlier in the game as well, that on those up line cuts, you've just got to put the throw out early enough. There is a bit of a discussion about what the gender ratio should be. We're even, so we should be the same as the previous point.
Benji Rees laying down that knowledge.
I mean, it is sort of what I'm here to do.
Are we using the gendered pulling rules here,
We
Benji?
are indeed using the prescribed puller rules. I think they're just... to be fair, I can't remember the last time I saw a top-level tournament without them now. It's just accepted, and one of those things where now we're doing it, it's like, why did we not do that before? It makes so much sense.
Well, certainly on beach as well. This curtails pitch length. I think most players that have been playing for more than maybe, you know, a couple of months can usually throw the distance, especially in this lovely, just gentle breeze out here. So,
yeah, I can definitely do that, sure, yeah.
I back you, Benji. I remember from Portimao last year when we had our little throw-arounds after the games. Because after talking about Ultimate all day, of course, what do you want to do? Throw a disc. Stricina rips a big backhand, sort of a bit of a pack developing in the deep space, but coming through with no defender anywhere near him. Cholkin for the goal.
That's half. What happened there? It was white, like, did the defender just get wrong-footed and lose him? It's rare you see someone who is kind of that open. So whatever happened, a complete busted coverage from Beefire, and the Ukrainians do the right thing in exploiting it. I mean, if it's there, why not throw to it?
Well, I don't know if that was actually the intended target. Oh, no, possibly. He was quite alone sort of on that far side, and that is where the shot reaches to from Stricina. But, yeah, a very curious turn of events.
Yeah, you got, and certainly they had the communication right in the end zone, because often when you got two players from the same team going for it, they can take each other out slightly. But that time, just got the call like, I'm here and I don't have the defender near me, so I'll take this one. And it's 7-6. Half time on serve. How long have we got left on the game clock? 5 minutes before the cap comes in?
Well, we've had a whistle, but I don't think it is for time. We are 41 minutes and change expired thus far in this game. So 4 minutes left of regulation, more or less, as Torino have the disc in hand. A lovely lefty flick, but that's going to be way too far to be reached. Trying to hit Ramirez, who's probably one of the favoured deep targets for Beefire. We've not seen that much out of this game.
I mean, the look is there. The look is absolutely there. But again, Brunelli, it's too much of an outdoorsy throw. You need to just put a little bit of backspin, get the extra revs on it, just to have it sit there, rather than zipping it to the end zone like he did.
Well, difficult to launch those flicks in stride. Of course, those forehand for the lefty. Maybe a righty would have actually, put a little bit more touch on that just by nature of it being a backhanded throw. But look at the pressure now being applied on the back set of the Ukrainian mix. Lovely throw into space, though. That's perfectly weighted. Oh, yes, please.
That is how you throw on beach. Sorry to cut you off slightly there.
That's all right. Just trying to give a bit of a name creds. Although probably the big credit there has to go to the throw.
It's a little bit of both, I think. It's a brilliant put from Hobachuk, the sort of put that yes, has to go. But as we've seen, just because it's the correct option doesn't always mean that that it's necessarily correctly executed. It is a wonderfully timed cut from the 99 Mahrita Nikolayenko. And again, this time you see the little bit of extra height and loft on it, just to have it sit there towards the back of the end zone, which is perfectly what you want. And yeah, again, we maybe said this earlier in the point, they got into a high slow situation, and the Italians maybe I'm going to accuse them of avarice a little bit here, to just maybe thinking, okay, we can get it right here, and they kind of really focused on stopping that reset, and it allowed that little outlet to come and lead Hobachuk through, and then with the defender trailing, why not step into that throw, pump it deep, and get your rewards.
Well, I'll tell you what, that bye round to start off the tournament for UkrMix must be paying dividends for them right now, leading Beefire, who of course snagged that bronze medal in Portimao last season. Delighted, of course, to have 2 European Beach Club Championships on the bounce, back-to-back. Normally you have to wait for that kind of action. Deep shot going up for Beefire. The block comes. A foul call, curiously, from Andrea Melina. I thought that looked fairly decent, like just a normal sky battle. Petrushak getting the block there, but what do you think, Benji?
Again, it's just not, the throw is not, doesn't have quite enough edge to take it over to the break side, and there's not enough loft to take it over the defender. I think the defender's got position there. If anything, I'd say probably there's contact the other way.
Having watched that one in slow motion, and of course, we're not completely objective,
Well, we are completely objective, but we just don't necessarily have the same information that the players have.
That's what I mean. There's no objective truth that comes out of a replay, but that did look relatively clean from the camera angle that we have it on. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think Petrushak has the position there, and they are going to contest it and send it back. Of course, what we think in the booth matters not one iota. It's all about the players on the field coming to the resolution that they are happy with, and as well, of course, we do have a large replay monitor available, looking very shiny and new. You don't need to know what happened to the old replay monitor in Bern.
I don't think it was any foul play. I think it's just a case of, literally a case of the new monitor now has its own case.
It doesn't.
Well, it will do soon.
It should do.
I'm going to make it one, Benji. I have lots of foam in my house. So, Pagano. Because we are crafty and artsy, as well as broadcasty. Melina. Looking for that inside channel to Pagano. Has a late release to Stefanelli. Just a little cluster through, and unsurprisingly a pick there Almost like Stefanelli had to hand the disc to Pagano. She was so close.
Yeah, Strelchin's just not able to come through the traffic. He's going to stay with Pagano here.
Bit of bumping around in front of the disc. The placa. Nice one for Fuentes. Not too much action in terms of movement upfield, looking for it to develop. Faking that hammer over the top. Pagano now with his creativity. Bit of a stoppage down pitch. Now back in. Pagano. Casual toss on that around break. Casual. La Placa. This is really good defensive stand from UkrMix, making the pass count rise for the Italians over the top and just about makes that clap catch late. Is it in bounds?
I think they're saying in bounds, but not in the end zone. I must admit, from where I am, I can't quite see where those feet precisely were when she made the catch.
Well, it's like we're going to get time to have another look ourselves here for your delectation. Oh, a tricky one.
I think she might have been able to drag it there. If you drag the tape, by the way, you are deemed to be in.
Yes, if you put your foot, I guess it's the idea of you put your foot physically inbounds when you're on the sand, and if it catches the tape as your momentum goes through, you sort of, that's what you're allowed. However, it's a really difficult call to make, Benji, because a lot of times players are not actually underneath the line.
They're
sometimes on it, and of course it's still the thing of on the line itself is out. So Melina back. Oh my goodness, what a saucy hand block. But a foul.
Maybe too saucy.
Yeah. Just the way the disc just launched straight into the floor. Pinged off, but again, a good grinding match defense from UkrMix. Oh, a lovely hammer over the top. That was just slinky. And the goal for Beefire. They maintain the dream in this game. Pool stages, still everything to play for, but 48 minutes expired. I think we need to just double check if the cap's applied, but I suspect it is, Benji.
Yeah, I think that should be game to 9 at this point. Weren't quite sure whether that first one was in bounds, the hammer grab from Stefanelli, so why not give her another chance to make the catch from the hammer for the score. Yeah, I'm just hearing it over the I was going to say peripheral audio, but it is game to 9, I believe, from this point forwards. So Beefire require 2 breaks to win here.
Ho, 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 ho. Well, this is where you get your piece of flint out and your little bit of metal. You start trying to make sparks if you're in the.
Oh, right, I see the analogy. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I can incorporate bees into this analogy.
Bees?
It seems a bit dangerous. But
Yeah.
either way, they are a feisty team for sure, with lots of athletic capability, lots of throwing prowess. They just haven't really been on the level of execution we expect so far. And perhaps that looser game against Monkey Grenoble this morning is a little to do with that.
Yeah, again, as they did this morning, got off to a bit of a slow start, really, dug themselves a hole. If they could, you know, when they've got it to work, they've been very good, but they haven't had that consistency all game long. They've come in fits and spurts. It's a difficult way to win a game.
Well, on the line, Simona Stefanelli getting us underway with the pull. That's definitely a power line for Beefire in a crunch situation for this European Beach Championships. Schenko with the disc. Nice, easy one. Pataikina has a lead pass available, squeaks out that reset. Stall out's going to be called, but what a catch from Anna Slintak.
Yeah, she had it for a while, so you did feel that the stall out was coming. You could just, the tension was certainly ramping up. Violation, I think.
But their turnover is going to stand, accepted by Pagano, quite wisely, to be honest. foul call on the mark. And that iconic expressive reaction. But all's fair in love and Frisbee. I'm sure there was no intention there from Cholkin. Because, of course, the Ukrainians do have one extra in the bank if they need it, and they are going to. Stefanelli going to the knees, starting and finishing this point.
We know what that means. We got ourselves some sudden death double game point universe action.
Thus far, this is the game that's had it all this tournament, and it's even had some. What at points has been genuine sunshine, Benji. I'm excited. It is going to be forecast for dreamy scenes for the rest of this weekend. Thankfully, I heard it from the lady in the shop on the promenade. Therefore, it must be.
Oh, it must be true. Yeah, would never try and discredit them. Apparently, originally there was thunderstorms forecast for this morning and later this afternoon, but it looks like we got them all in the morning, so we had that more extended break, which forced the schedule rejig. And touch wood, we should all be clear from this point forward.
Indeed, and we have lots of wood to touch.
There is plenty of wood to touch,
We're in a
yes.
lovely little sort of, almost beach hut vibe. In fact, it literally is a beach hut because it's a hut that's on the beach.
I mean, it fits the two parameters, doesn't it?
Well, either way, we're seeing a pretty nice, in fact, exactly the same line, I think, coming out for Beefire. There was a bit of an extended stoppage between these last 2 points, so maybe that a bit of tactical winding down the
yeah, both sides wanting to make sure they're
points.
taking every single second to know exactly what they're doing.
So this for an early upset in pool stages. Chenko, easy one, again Batikina. Savalenko moving forward, a little stumble there, but all fine. Chenko calling his players to the downfield space. We know the Ukrainians like to play their offense fairly safe, and this is a good display of that. Nice and well, Stienczak. Shakes her head, does not think anything good of the options upfield, but Chenko coming through. Oh, and there we go! UkrMix grabbed their first win, first game over Beefire. My goodness, Benji.
That is huge, and you can see how pumped they are about it. A couple of times again, they got into a little bit of trouble. They were forcing them pretty flat, the Italians, trying to make them go laterally and say, okay, if you want to just slowly grind your way down the pitch, then good luck. But in the end, with that flat force, it meant that there wasn't maybe enough pressure on that backhand and just popped it over the top to Cholkin outside the end zone. And then once you get the disc on that break side, you get the timing of those cuts through to the end zone. There's usually only one way it ends, and you see it again here on the replay. Fuentes just trying to make a monster of herself on the mark, but that little high release tossed backhand into Cholkin, and he just looks up, and that is never going to be an option that he looks off.
Wow.
Daria Batiakina with the goal, and 9-8 UkrMix wins.
Indeed, 4 breaks apiece. Going to serve this one, but it is definitely confirmed that the Ukrainians are here and ready for this action. Keep your eyes glued to the stream, though. We'll be bringing you all of today's coverage live and on fire. We, of course, have open action for you next. It's going to be Frizzeli's of France versus Mighty Hucks of Great Britain. For myself, Hannah Penderbury, Benji Rees, and all of our ULTI.TV crew, we will see you for the next one in a couple of minutes.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member
and fund our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Thanks.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.